Hi everyone. So over the time that I've been doing these YouTube videos, I've occasionally get requests to see how I edit my photos. And the reason why I haven't really done that up to now is I feel like you'd perhaps be kind of disappointed. I don't do anything fancy. I keep my editing process really simple, really quick. And so what I thought I would do in showing you how I edit my photos is to share with you how you can really speed up your editing process. Something I'd done a while ago, which once I started doing it, just made the whole editing process so much faster. And yeah, it's still getting the same results. So I'll share that with you in this video, but before I do get into that, one of my regular followers always seems to be quite disappointed if I don't wear my hat in these videos. So Ken, this is for you. But let's get into the editing. So I load up Lightroom first of all. Perhaps should have already had it loaded. Never mind. Okay, so I've got Lightroom loaded up now. So if I go to import some photos, and I've just on my desktop, I've just added some photos there, just some raw files just for the purposes of this video. So first of all, we'll put in a name. I add in as many keywords as I can when I'm importing the photos, so I don't need to do that later on. That can speed up a lot of time if you do them in the import process, because obviously the photos that you've just taken no doubt will all relate to each other, so you might not be able to put all the keywords in because there might be some differences in the photos, but certainly things like location and general stuff like that, you can add that in now. I'm not going to add that in at the moment, just for this video. And we'll just add them to this general folder I've created here. And the thing that I do, which really speeds up my process, my editing process, is to use a preset. So I've created my own preset because I generally do the same thing to my photos. I'm always making the same kind of adjustments. And I think that's because when you've been doing photography for a while, you kind of develop your own style. And once you have your own style, you do tend to edit in the same way to give all your photos the same kind of look. So when I realized that, I thought, well, it'd be so much easier if I just create a preset with the sort of adjustments that I'm constantly making. And yeah, it speeds things up so much. So that's what I've done. So under import, under apply during import here, if I go to develop settings, scroll down to user presets, and that's a preset that I have created. So I just add that during the import, click import. Then it imports the photos and adds that preset. So if I load one of these photos here, go to develop, you can see here the adjustments here. So this is kind of just a rough guide. Obviously I will have to fine tune this, but I generally always add a bit of contrast. All photos need a bit of contrast, give them a bit of punch. I generally lower the highlights rather a lot. I up the shadows rather a lot. Up the whites rather a lot. That might actually be a little bit high. And I generally lower the blacks. Add a little bit of vibrancy, and to be very honest with you, that is generally my editing process. I don't do much more than that to most of my photographs. So once it's added that preset, it's then just about fine tuning. So the whites might be a little too high there, for example. So I'll just lower them down a bit. And I mean, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't need to do much more than that. Let's say I want to up the shadows a little bit, but it's just a touch and it's just fine tuning, and I've saved myself so much time, because without that preset the photo would have just been uploaded like that, and I'd have had to do everything, you know, from scratch, and it would have taken so much time. With the preset, I've barely had to do anything. Where was I? Yeah, I've barely had to do anything, and the photo was already looking kind of how I wanted, because I'm always making the same adjustments. So yeah, it's just about fine tuning. And like I say, I really don't do much more than that. I like to get as much as I can in camera. Obviously, different photos will be different. Some photos will require a bit more work. Occasionally, I might need to use like the adjustment brush, might even merge photos, but it's very rare that I do that. HSL here, the saturation, to play about with the colors, you know, boost certain colors. That I do very rarely as well, only if the photo particularly, you know, sort of warrants it, in my opinion, in my view. Most photos I'm generally happy with without having to do that. Vignette, occasionally I add a slight vignette. Again, it's just subjective. It just depends on the specific photo, whether I think that photo requires it. But like I say, that is it. Nothing really fancy at all. Because for me, like I said in my last video, I like to spend as much time as I can being out in the field, taking the photo and getting it right while I'm taking the photo. So when I'm out on location and I've got my camera set up and everything, I spend a lot of thought actually thinking about the image before I ever press the shutter. Even before I put the camera on the tripod, I'll sort of work out where I want to be placed, work out my composition, where I should place my tripod, how high do I want to be, how low do I want to be, and then set up and yeah, really carefully think about things. Everything's very deliberate, and I think that's kind of the big difference between someone who's just starting and someone who's, you know, been doing it for a lot longer. It's that when you're starting, you kind of snap, constantly snapping away at photos. Yeah, when you've been doing it for a while, you learn to be a lot more deliberate with think about things. Slow down, think about things before you even press the shutter. And that's another great way to speed up your editing process. I see many photographers, particularly when they're just starting, just like I say, snap, so many photos, take hundreds and hundreds of photos, and they'll do it without even moving the camera, without changing any settings. So they've taken 30, 40 photos that are exactly the same. If you get everything right to begin with, you don't need to take more than one photo. Now, of course, as light changes, or you might want to change composition and things, you can of course take more than one photo. But there's no point in taking 20 photos that are exactly the same. If you haven't moved, if you haven't changed the settings, what is the point in taking more than one photo? It just leaves you with so much more photos to import and go through. So yeah, use presets, don't take more photos than what you have to. It'll really speed things up. And that's it for the vast majority of photos. That is my editing process. Like I say, very simple. You may be disappointed that there's not more to it, but yeah, like I've said, I like to get it all right in camera, or as much right in camera as I can. So I'm actually heading up to Scotland now when I finish filming this. That's probably my friend who I'm meeting in Scotland. But I'm going to Galloway Forest Park, and me and my friend Lee, who I went to Norway with, we are camping the night there. There's a meteor shower happening at the moment, which peaks tonight. So hopefully gonna photograph some meteors. So in my next video, expect to see a bit of landscape photography in Scotland, some hiking, some wild camping, meteor shower hopefully if conditions are right, and yeah, just overall fun really. So yeah, I hope to see you then. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you then. I've said that. Anyway, bye.
I thought this was going to be a nice easy stroll. Little did I know, we're both knackered already and we've barely walked 500 metres. Oh dear. My legs. We're not making good progress at all. The worrying thing is that the hardest bit is yet to come, because what we've done so far hasn't been very steep. So, and we've struggled. Yeah. I don't think we're going to make this summit.